Here's Andy. Tom, sorry, the fact we are now jailing people for social media comments is tantamount to a fascist state. People who have killed have gotten less sentences. It's absurd, says Andy. Well, it's not absurd, not least because he admitted to it. So he did plead guilty here. It's not like he tried to argue against it. He pleaded guilty to false communication with intent to cause harm. And the fact that we're jailing people for social media comments, well, sorry, mate, but you have to police this stuff. You can't allow people to put messages out which could be seen by the entire world, the effects of which you have no control over, and in some cases might be seen as incitement or racial hatred or whatever it is, without having any consequence. You can't do that. And if you want to argue it from the point of view of freedom of speech, you're never going to win, because you can't have freedom without some consequence. There's nothing on this planet, in this life, that is free of consequence. Andy, thank you very much indeed. Michael's in Enfield. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Tom. I think the Romanian guy should have been sent to jail because he sent out something knowing it was false, right? And he didn't know what the repercussions were going to be. However, the law has to be seen to be fair and seen to be equal, right? So nothing actually happened. Nothing happened in terms of other people seeing that tweet or whatever it was and then taking action. However, Nigel Farage, right, was the one who put out false information that led to the riots. So if the Romanian guy has gone to jail, I want to know, why is no one interviewing Nigel Farage and sending him to jail?
Well, I think there was a former police officer on LBC yesterday suggesting that police might be looking at what it was that Farage has put out into the public domain. I asked him, when I had him in the studio last week, whether or not he feared a knock at the door from the police on the basis of some of the stuff that he's put out.
Yeah, I heard that interview that you did with him. Very good interview. However, the law has moved very swiftly, right, for people like lower level people, if you like. Everyone knows what Nigel Farage said, right? It's all very well him saying he was just asking a question.
Yes.
He knew exactly what he was doing,
yes,
right? So that's no excuse whatsoever. And the same way there's been swift justice for all of these people who committed offences, I still want to know, why is no one interviewing Nigel Farage?
Well, putting out false stuff sometimes happens, sometimes by mistake, sometimes it's a genuine mistake that means that what you actually put out there is false. The difficulty is going to be proving intent to cause harm, isn't it?
No, he knew exactly what he was doing. He's not stupid. Everyone knew what he was doing. And he was a catalyst, as far as I'm concerned, who led to those riots. So I'd like to see him banged up.
All right. Michael, appreciate it. Thank you.
His legal team would have told him to plead guilty because it makes the judge more lenient. It makes the judge, you can save...
You get time off. You get, in mitigation,
absolutely.
You get a third off.
So if you're in a situation where you don't think you can prove it, you don't think you can get away with it, you've got a whole full case, you just plead guilty and try to lessen the damage.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you really did it bad. And that's the first point I wanted to make. Secondly,
well, hang on. If you don't think you meant it and you can show that you didn't mean it, why plead guilty?
The problem is you can't show it. The problem is you can't show you didn't mean it. How are you going to prove I was joking? How are you going to prove that I didn't think it was going to be intent to harm? I didn't think it was going to harm anybody. How are you going to prove that?
Well, you could in theory show a history of jokes which might have been of a similar nature and say, look, I've got a history of being a bit jokey on social media and here's the stuff to prove it.
And if you did have that history, then yeah, you might try it. But maybe he hadn't had such a history.
So you don't have that history. You're doing it at a time when there's heightened tension anyway, and you plead guilty. Might one come to the conclusion that actually maybe there was a bit of intent there?
You can come to that conclusion, but I'm just saying it absolutely doesn't prove it, because a lot of people, especially in this situation, would have pled guilty to some of the charges they've had because they think they're going to get it easier, because the whole system's in supercharge, and they just know they're going to string you up. So their legal team would have advised them to plead guilty. That's the first thing. And I wanted to also say, I don't understand why he just didn't say I was filming a drama. What's the difference? I don't understand how he... First of all, I just want to state the point. I am totally against this man going to prison for what he did. Totally against it, because it's freedom of speech. He did not incite hatred. He did not... All the things I've ever read about what you can get in trouble for, he did not do. Now, agreed, the timing weren't great.
And he pleaded guilty.
And
he pleaded guilty to it.
Yeah, he pled guilty to it because, like I said, his legal team probably told him he has to. That's the best way forward.
But if you were genuinely
because once
innocent,
you've been snatched up, you pretty much ain't got a chance. So your legal team probably didn't just plead guilty, get it over with.
That would mean that there'd be far fewer court cases if people did that. Oh well, maybe it's going to be very difficult. If you really, really didn't mean it, and you can show that you didn't mean it, and you don't plead guilty.
Well, absolutely, but that's not what happens. You know that for a fact. I know many cases
so why
where
can't
people
he show
even
that he
didn't
didn't
do
mean it? Or why can't he show enough that he didn't mean it?
Well, his legal team just probably told him that he ain't going to be able to prove it. He ain't going to be able to sway it. In his favour.
even in the event that we're going around in circles here. But even in the event that he's pleaded guilty, you still don't think he should go to prison, Colin?
Definitely not.
Why?
Definitely not.
Why?
Because I don't think the offence warrants custodial sentence. There was nobody to be harmed there. I just don't think that, even if that, like you say, he pleaded guilty, which I'm against him even being arrested for it in the first place, but he's gone and pleaded guilty because these people have told him to, then I don't see no harm there. So I don't see why it's a custodial sentence. By all means, slap on the wrist, don't do that. That timing wasn't good. But I don't understand why he did. I'm trying to get to this next point. What if you're just filming a drama? You just decided you want to make a little mini-series on TikTok, and you film this scene where you're running away from some bad guys, and there's no bad guys because you're filming a scene. You can get arrested and locked up for it.
Was it a drama?
Well, that's the point I'm making is nobody knows. What's the difference?
It wasn't, was it?
But what's the difference? At the end of the day, it's a scene in TikTok of some guy running away claiming to be chased by something.
Colin,
and
that would lend itself to the idea of taking this to trial. If you can show that you're creating a drama in which you're running away and there's another scene in which you're, I don't know, hiding, I don't know, whatever it might be, you could use that in your defence. But he didn't. Because he wasn't.
Agreed, I get that, but I'm just trying to say, what is the difference when you actually when you're watching that TikTok scene? If you take it to be serious, that's down to you. It's not down to the guy making the drama, filming the shot.
The interesting bit is this, isn't it? The interesting bit is, if there was no harm caused, 700 people saw it, nothing came of it, no one went and committed any violence, no one went and did anything. If there was no harm, is the intent to cause harm enough to send someone to prison? You're going to say no.
No, I'm not going to say no. I think if someone does something, films it, and they did intend to cause harm, then yes, by all means. But what I'm trying to say is that I just think the threshold is just so thin. I think it's the thing. Right, like, all right. Sorry, let me take this back. There's so many sides to it, because if you film something because to me there's nothing going on there. He didn't say anything wrong. He just pretended to be chased. But
he did say something wrong. I mean, he was false. He pretended to be chased. That wasn't true. But then, as you say, neither's drama. But that's not what he was making, I don't think.